You wanted me to mention that this is the time when the veil is the thinnest. Okay, between the seen and the unseen. This is an excellent time for us to do prayer work, to talk to people that we've loved that have passed on, even people we haven't loved. It's a time for that sort of honoring and healing. Yes. So between now and probably Monday morning, it's when the veil is considered the thinnest. So it's a good time to do a little ritual, a little spiritual, prayerful type of, being quiet. You can do this with a group of folks or by yourself, and just put out there what you need to put out and want to acknowledge and ask about, and because our ancestors assist us. This little guy is my familiar chi, C-H-I, and it's not just chi for Chihuahua. It's chi that for Chinese for energy. Thank you very much.
So Lilli, I was hoping that in advance of Halloween you could tell us some of your ghost stories, and one that I only heard the tiniest bit of, I haven't heard the whole thing, is when you were called to do basically an exorcism?
Yes, for the Rio Grande, which is downtown Salt Lake City.
And it's a train station? Or?
It's our big Amtrak train station, yes. And there has forever been rumors about there has been a lady seen in the bathroom, and she is called the Purple Lady. Well, it actually turns out that area is kind of a vortex. There have been a lot of beings who have passed there, whether they are homeless, whether it's from train stuff, whatever. It's just that particular area. So I chose a dear friend who's also been a priestess forever, Cecilia Morris, to come and help me and be an assistant for me. And she came, and we did a ritual together in the bathroom. I am releasing now.
Oh my gosh. Could I ask you before I hear the ritual, so what was the story attached to the Purple Lady? Because the Rio Grande, has that been there since the late 1800s?
I think so. Well, it's been there a long time.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yes. And so basically they were just hoping that I could connect somehow and free her up and send her on her way.
Did they have was there any folklore around who she might have been, or what did she do? Did she just appear to people, or?
She just appeared to people, and it kind of scared the wits out of them. So they just, it was probably just a publicity stunt, right? In a way, but in a way it wasn't. And Cecilia and I did a ritual for, stay if you will, go if you must, and ever mind the rule of three, the witch's creed,
Remind us the rule of three for those who don't know.
Okay. Well, it's like, to harm none. Lest in thyself defense it be, ever mind the rule of three. And that is like, as a proper witch, we are to harm none. None, We're coming from kindness, love, and compassion. And that if you do, because you are knowledgeable, and you have been gifted, then if you do harm, it will come back at least 3 times upon you. So any good little witch worth her salt is going to do her best, her damnedest, her best, whatever, to harm none. Okay? And so with the Rio Grande, I had asked for no media, but of course media showed up. So we had channel, I think it was 2, but I can't remember. And just, interviewing me, and I'm just talking about Halloween, Samhain, you know, and the honoring the ancestors, that sort of thing. And so when we were all finished, I released Cecilia to go ahead and go home, and because I didn't feel at that moment that I really needed any protection or anything, and it was late, so I just let her go home. Then I went into the restaurant portion of the Rio Grande, and the employees were having their party, and a couple of them were playing Nerf ball. And it was just kind of, things were mellow and kind of fun. And for some reason, one of the waiters, had hit a Nerf ball. And for some reason, his bat just went away from him at the same time and just went swirling clear across the restaurant and hit me in the side of the head and knocked my glasses off. And it was like, is there a message in this? Oh, my goodness. Okay, I got it. And so I just finished everything up, got in my car, going to go home. And as I'm driving home, I look out my back window and my mirror, and there's like these apparitions chasing after me. And it's like, wow, and it's like, yes, so we want to be really careful where and what we play with, At the same time, we have different realms and different elements. And I think at some point in time, science will connect with the different energies that we have. And I really do think that a lot of people who are healers and psychics and mystics are just connected with more levels of energy. And I really, I keep saying that I think magic and miracles are the same thing, and I myself would never do anything negative, derogatory. It's not within me. I hope. I speak my word and so it is. And, and lately you gave me a CD on Louise Hay. And I have been playing that 2 and 3 times a day.
Yay.
Just listening to it. And even Chi is listening to it. He'll just lay down in the bathroom with me on his little rug that he scrunches up. And he listens, And I have just, it's so funny. It's like, love your fingers. They give you so much pleasure. Okay.
Excuse me.
Yeah, I love my mouth. I love my teeth. I love my throat. I love to sing. And then we get to the lower realms, and it's like, I love my rectum. Really? Okay.
So speaking of rectum, what happened with those apparitions? Do you nice segue there? I don't know what the connection was. But so you saw them. How did they appear when you saw them in the mirror?
Just kind of ethereal, and just kind of like, in a way, kind of just running after me slowly. And I realized that, oh my goodness, it's 4 a.m, which tends to be the witch's hour. And it's a great time to get the hell out of Dodge.
Wow.
So I came home.
Were you nervous about them potentially following you home?
Not really. Not really. Because one of the things I know, that there is nothing more powerful than God. God meaning good, orderly direction, source, energy. There is nothing more powerful, And even those unseen energies, it's like if we can stay in that energy of compassion and love, and just stay if you will, go if you must, and it's time to go back to where you came from. And I got the message that you didn't like, what was going on there, but it was a healing energy. So that was an interesting thing. And then, of course, I've done a few radio interviews, and I've been in Salt Lake Magazine in 2000. The inside cover were my prophecies. Okay, and then I look at the prophecies nowadays, and I realize, I was accurate on every single one of them. Oh my goodness.
Woohoo!
There was even a mayor here, Ralph Becker, and before he decided to run for mayor, I had been interviewed in one of our papers, and I had predicted that he would win. And he didn't even know he was running. So he remembered that. You're the psychic that predicted I'd win. Yes. And yet it's funny. I don't feel like I'm the psychic with the mostest. I may be, but I don't really feel like it's anything extremely unusual. I think that a lot of people do this, and they just perhaps have not honed it or owned it. And I feel like science and religion must agree, and where they don't, one or the other is wrong. Because, and this comes from the Baha'i faith teachings, because science without religion can become materialism, physicality, materialism, and religion without science can become superstitious and tradition. A superstitious tradition, and just really not have any real meat to it. But yet, it's there to scare the crap out of people. A lot of times, people who are playing witchy poo are wanting to do control stuff, and that's ego. And if you look at things, I have been so blessed to investigate so many things. Course in Miracles, Buddhism, Taoism, Judaism, and it's like I was in an orphanage in Europe, and I'm part Jewish, and yet I was not raised Jewish, and then also my adopted family were military, so they were much more, their tradition was more partying than it was anything to do with religion or spirituality. And yet, somehow I had a real hunger for learning and for spirituality, yet I didn't want to dance in the energy of just witchy pooish control crap and all of that. I didn't want to do that, so I kept studying and I kept studying. And I think, that's more like the mystic. That's more like wisdom. And I think there's a lot of us that are doing that these days. And I think also that's part of what's going to help us heal the planet.
So how would you define being a mystic or mysticism?
I think that it's like, for instance, Lao Tzu, who wrote the Tao, right? Okay, Lao Tzu had been very well known within his city, and he had been considered, a person of wisdom, etc. And after, sometimes, as you age, mature, and you begin to learn more of the lessons of life, and it takes a lot of effort to do that, to study, to read, to comprehend everything, whether it's Tibet, whether it's from China and Asia or Africa, South America, Europe, all of this. Studying all of this and really getting it. Longest journey is from head to heart. Because when we understand things strictly from the head, we don't really know much. When we get it within the core of our being, then we really comprehend and we really grasp it. And that's also the best for being a teacher. for being a healer. I think they're all kind of like interconnected, you know, and being a mystic. And also you find yourself constantly, without ever trying, you're constantly in situations. You know, like just last night, there were like, 3 or 4 situations that I encountered that I had no clue I would encounter. I had knew nothing. And yet, okay, I was there and I was placed there for reasons. And I did what I was basically told to do. And one of the prayers I use with that is, right now, Spirit, I surrender my entire life to Thee. I am your woman. I'm your instrument. What is it you would have me do? What is it you would have me be? You know, I put that out there, and somehow, some way, the prompting comes into my being. Whether it comes into my mind, whether it just comes into the whole essence of my body, and I just feel like this is right, this over here won't work as well, whatever. And listening. It's so important to be quiet and listen. And, you know, we live in a culture where folks don't do that. We get so distracted. We work, we have families. We sleep because we're desperate for sleep. And just trying to have quiet time to reflect, time to think, is difficult to find. You know, and when I say distractions, honey, we've got Facebook, we've got YouTube, we have Netflix, we have so many things to keep us from thinking. You know, I mean, we may think about the movie or something of that nature, but as far as thinking and know yourself, you know, one of the old adages is to know yourself is to know God. God being good, orderly direction. You know, and I am forever changing language, changing words. Like, to me, I feel like God got us. Because I do think, you know, as the Mormons, you know, consider that there's a mother in heaven. Well, I think yes. And I'm not really sure that there is male and female deity. Source energy, I feel like, how can a drop of water know the ocean? Me being the drop of water, the ocean being source energy. And it's like, I can join with it, as a drop of water can join the ocean, or the water basin, or whatever. Yet I can't, there's no way that I can know all the nuances of source energy. You know, so.
Do you have for Halloween any more ghost stories or Halloweeny type stories you want to share?
Well, sometimes I have dreams, you know, and certain people that I have known in the past will come to me in my dreams. And I just look at that and think about it and ponder it. I went to a psychic village in Florida looking for someone more astute than myself. And I actually did not find that, you know. And it's like, perhaps we're not supposed to. And it's like, oh, okay. And keep working on yourself. You know, and when you have students, you can just look at them and observe what they're doing. And it's like, ego. Young one, not listening. Oh, all right. And you will find that as you teach, there will always be people who want to do one-upsmanship. Just step back let them go on, let them go, blah, 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 and know that you may not be able to get across at this time what you need to, and they're not ready. They're not ready to hear. And that's okay. When they're ready, they'll hear. And yes, of course, you have to do whatever discipline you have to do when you're a teacher. Yet, knowing that, just stepping back and not making them wrong or evil, bad, or nasty, just like it doesn't work that way in my world. And this isn't the way I see things being done in our class. Whatever. And just knowing that at some point when they're ready, that old adage that everybody says, when the student is ready, the teacher appears. Maybe. And the teacher doesn't necessarily be a physical being. Teachers could be books. Teacher could be seeing an accident. A teacher can be all sorts of things. And beginning to recognize, whoa, life does not last forever on this particular realm. I think also listening to things like Anita Morjani's talk, about what is the next realm of God like, and is there a next realm? And it's like, many times I really think there is. Other times I get shaken to my core and not sure. And yet, like when, on the 18th, when my blood sugar went down to 40 and my nurse panicked and I was heading towards coma, I was relaxed. And I wasn't thinking about, oh, I could be dying. All I was thinking about is my nurse had called an EMT team in, and I'm looking at these beautiful men, and I'm going, thank you, God Goddess, for sending me Chippendales.
This is the way I want to go. This is how I want to thank you. Even I could not have vocalized, but this is it. This is it.
They asked me, who's the president? And I said, some old fart that's older than me. No, I said Biden, So, but I just think that it's, I've been to rituals on Halloween. I've held rituals on Halloween, and like at Fertile Ground and at Golden Braid, and just had people hold a talking stick. Your wand can serve as a talking stick, all right? And the talking stick is basically for the person who's holding it gets the floor and gets to speak, okay? And oftentimes, after I've done some prayer and meditation with folks, and then we have created an altar, and sometimes that's been pictures of their loved ones, or it's been just little mementos of their loved ones. And the different people will hold the talking stick and talk about what it is that they're feeling around their loved ones, or whatever they want to talk about. Not the Indianapolis 500, but
unless their loved one was the driver for the Indianapolis
and got killed.
Then it's relevant.
that is relevant, right? And when I talk about Reiki, and I've read so many stories and been told stories about people who've been like in car crashes, and it might be the third or fourth car back where the driver is actually saying some prayer energy or doing Reiki or something. And I've heard that, people who had a vision of what, that the other cars were just there but there was a light around this one car because this person was sending good juju, good energy. And the person who did not die somehow remembered the license plate of that individual. And it was a woman. And after hospitalization and getting out, remembering the license plate and looking it up and finding out who the owner was, and taking that lady a bouquet of flowers and saying, I know you don't know me, but I was in that accident. And I know that you were doing healing energy. And I felt it. And I saw it.
Wow.
Yeah. So those are just, there's energy beyond just this realm. And yet, it's not something to fear. When we're dealing with ancestry, and we talk so much in this culture, and we have all these horror movies, and it's like, why? Why do you fear people who've gone beyond? Why would you fear your ancestors? You don't. So I don't really, I've gone in and done house cleanings, spiritual house cleanings with smudging with the sage, and there have been little, energies in there, and even hearing, I know this sounds funny, but hearing some moaning and groaning or rattling or whatever in big mansion type places or even businesses, and people going and being all afraid. And I don't feel like I am. I just feel like, oh, okay, this being needs to express whatever they need to express, and they need to be set free. There's E.J. Gold in the American Book of the Dead, and within that there are like 50 readings that you can do for someone who has passed on. And those readings may not make sense on our earth plane, but they do on another level. And doing those readings help people go through what's called the labyrinth. Okay? We have the labyrinth here. Like, for instance, I went through labyrinth in Chartres in France. Okay? And I went right to the heart of the labyrinth and did Reiki symbols. And I honored the Black Madonna. And then I went down into the crypt below the cathedral, which was a Druidic crypt. And it had a well. And I went and I honored the beings that were connected with that, which is way more ancient than the actual cathedral. And then when I came out of the main doors of the cathedral, after I'd done my goddess work and my Reiki, just as I come out, there's an entire audience, entourage, crowd that has come in from all the different spokes of the circle of the wheel. And as I come out the door, they wind up singing Alleluia. And I just thought, well, boy, this is a powerful moment. Thank you very much. I also went to the cathedral at Reims, okay? And that's where all the crowns, people were crowned, queens and kings and everything. And I had traveled far and wide to get there. And I get there and I make homage. There's a statue of Joan of Arc, and I go and I make homage to her and thank her praise and thank you. And then I say a prayer in front of the cathedral, and I lift my eyes up after that, and a black cat comes from one end of the cathedral to the other, runs clear across. And I got a message internally that said, you are not to enter here. And I was surprised, like, what? I've traveled forever to get here. And it was like they burned people like you. And it's like, oh dear, oh really? And being the stubborn being that I am, I went up to the door of the cathedral, and there was a person there in kind of hanged man position. There was a man in hanged man position with his leg crossed over in a triangle, and he's standing right there. And the next thing I know is a priest comes to the door and says to me, "The cathedral is closed. You may not enter." Okay. All right. So I was not able to enter the Cathedral of Reims. And it had a lot to do with people like me were not honored, but tortured. So, okay. All right. Does that serve?
That does.
All right. So happy Halloween. Honor your loved ones. Honor your ancestors. Have a wonderful time. Play. Enjoy. Feast. And just acknowledge that this is a time when the veil is the thinnest. Love. Compassion, kindness. Love is the only power. Love is the only way. Love, love, our love makes the circle grow. I speak my word, and so it is.